Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day. And it was a smaller week as far as number of titles go, but there were some big hitters this week. So let's get right to it because there might be an extra little bonus for people today.
Yeah. So my pick this week is Absolute Green Lantern issue 8. I don't think that's too much of a surprise. I've been a very big fan of the series, and this issue, the series in general has been kind of like hopping around a bit in terms of like where certain things take place and like how the story's being told to you, and like how characters are introduced. In this issue, we finally get like a pretty like full retelling of like Joe Mullen and like her like life, like where. Like, basically what got her to where we meet her at the start of the series in Evergreen with everything going down with the Lantern and everything. And if there's one way you can describe Joe, she is a very messy person. Like, we go through all these major events of, like, her growing up, joining the police force, getting into first, like, serious relationship, all these things, and, like, how she's constantly either making, like, the right or wrong decisions and how those kind of, like, domino into each other and just the way that things like keep like building and building, like you get like, oh yeah, this is like why this is a kind of the character that we meet at the beginning of the series where she's like super unsure of like what she wants to do, like where she is in her life. Everything just kind of like feels like directionless in a certain way, and just kind of like really getting that insight into like her. I really now want to reread the first couple issues and see it through that lens. And one of the cool things is since we've kind of established now like how like the absolute version of like the color spectrum goes in terms of like black, green, red, yellow, black, red, green, yellow. Like how like those reflect different points in her life. There's these little like refraining points in the story, some not always even like in chronological order of each other, that kind of like reflect like where she is at a certain point in her life, like how she reacts to things. Like sometimes she's a lot more reckless. Sometimes she like is making like a very like principled decision of standing up to like, oh, hey, my boss is kind of like a racist garbage guy. Like maybe I should like not like keep working for him.
Sure.
Like, yeah. Like, or sometimes just like, I'm feeling unfulfilled in my marriage. Maybe I should make some poor decisions. Like, yeah, like you cannot blame her wife for some of the reactions she gives.
Sure.
Yeah. But we also get a bit of insight into some of the other supporting cast. We kind of, it's really fun getting to see like a young Hal Jordan, where she's like her dad's like kind of critical of him, and she's like, that kid, he's just like ping ponging from one thing to the other. And she's like, no, he wants to be like a pilot. And he's like, next week he'll want to be something else. And then it cuts to him being like, I want to be a space cop. And it's like, you see, just kid can't make up his mind. Like we get that, we get a bit more of John and Guy, like how their kind of personalities are in this world. We get to get introduced to a couple characters. This is our first time seeing them in the Absolute Universe, and so. But there's one in particular just like, oh, yeah, I would not have expected to see you here. Maybe a deeper cut, but really excited to see, considering like who he is in the normal comics. Like, yeah, what are we going to do with you then? That might be interesting down the line. But this issue also has Jahoy Lindsay back on art. Skipped the previous issue that was kind of like dealing with some of the more space stuff, so got him back. Really does a good job with a lot of the kind of like character moments. There's like a couple panels in particular where he really sells like the sinister nature to these like very like, no, I'm a nice guy. I'm totally not corrupt or anything. Yeah, no, like he does a really good job with those moments, and they're like really good like selling the emotions of a lot of the characters, like the love, the anger, the like aimlessness of people. Like
what you need in a Green Lantern.
Yeah, like really nails that here. And yeah, it's very much more like down to a slice of life. Like outside of kind of like the very ending of the book, he doesn't even really deal with the whole like lantern like weird space cosmicness of it all.
Yeah,
but I think that really works to it. Of just like it really kind of like sucks you into these people's personal lives, and then reminds you like, oh yeah, there's weird alien nonsense going on too. So yeah, I now that we've kind of like got that kind of like soft reintroduction to what's going on Earth, I'm super excited to see what happens next. I know from the previews they've been showing off that things are going to start heating up a lot. There's going to be a lot of people showing up being like, hey, what's all this lantern business about?
Right, yeah.
And it will probably not go well for anyone, which is something that I always enjoy when things are going wrong for characters in comics.
Yeah. The Absolute universe is definitely building towards something. It's going to be interesting when all of these different books start bumping into each other.
Yeah. Which, speaking of which, next month, if you didn't know, we're getting our first little crossover between Absolute Wonder Woman and Absolute Batman. Very excited about that. I love they showed off the cover for the January issue of Absolute Batman, which is like the part 2. And it's always talked about like how like, oh yeah, like Batman's like huge and everything, and then like Wonder Woman is like clearly still like taller than her. Just like
Sure.
Makes sense, but also like, geez, how tall is she? Like, yeah, like, but no, again, all the Absolute books I continue to really enjoy. But speaking of a series that's also kind of like a fresh take on a bunch of old characters that also has things going very wrong for them. Your pick this week.
Yeah, so I went with G.I. Joe number 13. This is the Energon Universe G.I. Joe, not to be confused with the continuing to run G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero. So we've been introduced to the Joes for more than a year now because we saw Duke very early on in, that was Transformers, yes?
Yeah, he shows up briefly in like the second issue.
And then we, kind of have some build up to it, and then the launch of their own book. And in the Energon universe, one of the things that connects all of them is Energon, which makes a lot of sense. So in this book, just like Transformers, just like Void Rivals, there are all these different factions, and while they may align with each other at points, they definitely have their own interests in mind, and we get a lot of that in this book. So on the Cobra side of things, which is kind of where more of that is focused this time, you've got Destro, Cobra Commander, the Dreadnoks, all kind of going in different directions and manipulating and using each other to their own ends. And then we also, have reference to some of the other groups. We see, Blood, and we hear about the Crimson Twins, and there's all these different factions that are kind of vying for power. But at this point, Cobra Commander has mined, essentially, or collected all the energon that he can out of the swamp, and they're looking for more sources of it. So they're kind of spreading their forces throughout. And it felt very much like, a weather dominator or something kind of like that kind of vibe where it's like, oh, we're going to send this group to this part of the world and this group to this part of the world. But we stay focused on Cobra Commander, and he's headed down to the deserts in Texas. And the Joes get wind of it, and Duke shows up to kind of check and see what's going on. And stuff goes very, very wrong for pretty much everybody.
Yeah, like no one is like in the best spot at the end of this issue. Like some of them are definitely doing better than others, but
I think the Dreadnoks think that they're in the driver's seat. Yeah, literally. But there's a couple things going on here that would maybe lead the reader to believe that it's not going to end up great for them at the same time. So I'm really curious, like what was going on down there? There was a reason Cobra Commander wanted to go to this site instead of the others. And handle it personally. And we really, this is going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But again, I caught myself just thinking like, man, Tom Riley is just killing the art on this book. It's so good.
And is it Jordi Belair? Is that the colorist for it? Because they're, especially the way this book plays with color for certain sequences.
Yes, like the opening where the red is kind of highlighted. Cobra Commander is the only one who kind of gets blue there for a while. Yeah, it's just gorgeous, and also one of those that the Energon universe it's kind of one foot grounded in kind of gritty reality and the other foot grounded in out there sci-fi.
Yeah,
and they're doing a really great job of balancing that.
Yeah, the straddling the line between the more fantastical elements of like this is a world with like people with laser guns and giant transforming alien robots, but then also like still maintaining this very like human element, this very like these are like the real world implications of these kind of things happening.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. It's escapist fun, you know, and it's, I don't know, I know that we said this at the very beginning of this whole G.I. Joe arc with the miniseries that they did and everything, but man, Cobra Commander is so fun to watch because he's so much more evil and devious and, you know, just willing to just straight up murder people.
Well, one of the things that I've enjoyed with this run, and not that we've gone like into it too deep yet, but like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, compared to a lot of other like iterations of Joe, they really feel like they're trying to set up that there is this like kind of like more personal dynamic between him and Duke in terms of like being the leaders of their opposing sides.
Yeah.
Because like most of the time it just feels like, oh yeah, they just happen to be the guys in charge of like the other team. Because part of why I think for a lot of people, like stuff like Optimus Prime and Megatron works a lot is because like regardless of like how it's usually done, like a lot of times it very much leans into like, yeah, these guys like have like a very personal relationship, whether it's like maybe they used to like be like friends before the war, or they've just been like fighting so long that like they are on some level the only people who understand each other.
Right,
like
yeah.
there just hasn't been that kind of relationship to the same extent with like Duke and Cobra Commander. So like doing more with that, like establishing like that there is this kind of like level of just like they like see each other maybe not like as equals or anything or as respectable, but like they get like, oh, this is like my opposite. This is like the guy that I have to like think about when I'm doing stuff.
It's very interesting. And as long as we don't end up finding out that Cobra Commander is the younger brother of Duke's ex-girlfriend, we'll be all right.
I part of me wants to rewatch that movie sometime and just like try and parse like why they made literally any of the decisions they made in that film. Like it's like
exoskeletons, yes.
Like, even as someone who like didn't know much about like Joe stuff when I saw that movie, like sorry for the slight diatribe here, like even like watching it at the time, it's just like everything about this movie just feels like off in like every way.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. All right. Well, speaking of off, we've done something different today.
Yeah. Also love that segue.
Yeah, thank you. We couldn't decide what our consensus pick should be, not because we didn't agree. It was because we agreed too much on two separate titles. So why not?
Because, hey, we make the rules.
Yeah.
So we've got two this week. We've got Batman issue 3 and Planet She-Hulk issue 1.
Yes.
Which one do we want to talk about first?
Let's start with Batman and then we'll end with She-Hulk.
Yeah, so Batman continues the new series here by Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. One of the things that I've been really enjoying with this is so far is like, well, there's clearly like an ongoing arc, like things from issue to issue are like building on each other. Like it's doing a really good job of like, hey, if you didn't read the first two issues, you can just like drop in and like read this one and kind of like get the gist of like what's happening. Like, oh, you understand like, oh, Vandal Savage is like in charge of the police. He's like really not happy about Batman being a thing, so he's trying to find a way to get rid of him. There's stuff going on with this new Dr. Keller character who's like trying to like help the various like villains of the city, that there's maybe like something going on there with that.
Right. And Hugo Strange.
Yeah, you get to I love how this run has been using the news, like how it's been like cutting to that to like establish certain things that are going on. Very much pulling from like the Dark Knight Returns in that regard, but like in a way where it feels like it's still kind of doing its own thing with it, especially in terms of like the format layout of it. It's not doing exactly the same thing. Yeah.
And I also really like how by showing Gotham in the daylight and by having Batman in the blue and gray garb really creates a lot more contrast between that and the dark, spooky Gotham that we're really familiar with, because that's all that they've done for the last 20 years, 25 years. It made that rooftop scene with Gordon and Bullock and Batman stand out more.
Something I feel like this run has been doing really well is that like it's establishing this like feel for Gotham where simultaneously there's parts of it that like do have this like kind of like old like Gothic feel to it. Other parts feel very modern. Other parts feel very futuristic. It's like it's leading to this notion, kind of like a thing that I feel like other writer like people like Grant Morrison did on their run, where there's this feeling of like there's so many different like versions and contradictions of Batman, and then just kind of like bleeding that into like the rest of the like this weird city that's amalgamation of a bunch of different like eras and ideas would kind of like create something like him.
Well, and we're coming out of an era where even if they weren't pointing to it directly, which they were a lot at the end, that it's like, wow, Bruce would have to be a really broken person because of the way that everything is happening right now. And we're it's kind of nice to see Bruce be a person and just trying to do a good job of protecting his city and the people that he cares about. So we also get some really nice moments where Bruce is interacting as Bruce, not Batman pretending to be Bruce, with people around him.
I like we were talking about before. There's a great bit to follow up on like what happened with Tim in the last issue, where he kind of gets beat up a fair bit, and so he's like visiting him in the hospital, and Tim's boyfriend Bernard visits, and he doesn't know Tim's Robin, so he's just like, "Hey man, every time you guys like go out on vacation, Tim comes back like super beat up. Like what's that about?" Like
that can't be right.
No,
and it seems to be like that Bruce is in a good place, although this whole Alfred thing may not be healthy. I'm not sure yet.
As far as Batman coping mechanisms go, I'd say this one's going fairly well.
I like it.
Yeah.
I just worry. But no, it's a great book. The art is amazing. And again, the colorist doing a great job between dark and gloomy Gotham and daylight Gotham, and even that visiting in the hospital scene, everything was bright and normal feeling, and he's doing some sparring training with Damian, and just all of it. It just felt very, I don't know, it flowed really well. It had a good natural kind of feel to it. It kind of lets you breathe a little bit. You're not totally suffocated by how dark and gritty Batman is.
Like it's very much a book that's still like taking itself like seriously in terms of like the subject matter it's dealing with, but at the same time like there's a certain like lightness to it, and like there's a bit where like he's talking with Harvey and Gordon, and just like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And just like great. Pulls like a bit on them, and Bullock's just like, oh, he thinks he's so funny. Like, it's such a good little interaction between those characters.
And we also did get clues towards a mystery that both Bruce and Batman are now investigating.
Yeah, there's like you're starting to see like how like certain threats are really connecting from issue to issue.
So good, loving it so much. All right, well. So art is kind of a constant theme here on how well it's meshing with the storytelling. With our second pick, we went with Planet She-Hulk #1, and we talked about how the one shot that we got during Imperial War was really good. And this is exceeding the expectations that's set up, because the combination here of it's Stephanie Phillips and Aaron Cooter, right, on this book. And Aaron Cooter has really got a good handle on both that kind of sci-fi element and that sword and sandal kind of gladiatorial element, and that kind of human element of, we get a whole scene where they spend a lot of time where Jen is just kind of having a conversation about what needs to happen next while she's trying to take a moment for herself. It was really interesting.
They do a really good job in that whole sequence of like varying up like the like panel layout, like kind of like the composition of like how far, just put in like kind of like filmatic terms, like how far in the camera is, how far out, like that whole sequence. It takes a sequence that could be like very visually boring, but like does it in a way where like everything's very enough that like you're still kind of like enraptured as like it goes along. And one of the things we're talking about, I feel bad, I'm blanking on the artist who did the art for the one shot.
I can't remember.
I really like their work on there, but like there's just something about Cooter here that like just fits the whole vibe of what they're going for so much like better, I would argue. Like just like he really like nails like, this is like a whole different place on Earth that she's on.
Yes. From from giant monster that is being fought in a gladiatorial pit to advisors and everything. Everything's got this very strange vibe to it, but it also feels really solid, concrete. He does a really good job of making it feel like you're looking at a three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional page.
Yeah, there's just a certain solidness to it. There's also it not exactly in a one-to-one way, but it's got a certain lived-in grittiness feel that Star Wars. When you think back to the original trilogy, the whole thing was just everything's got that little bit of rust or muck on it that feels real, and there's a similar vibe to this where everything about Sakaar or Sakara Nevo, as it's technically properly called. We're probably just going to call it Sakaar for brevity's sake.
Yep.
But it does feel this is a world that these people have been living here for a bit. It's been used there's a certain contrast because there's the parts where it's here's kind of the more this is where people hang out versus this is kind of your more personal quarters. Everything's got a different kind of feel to it, while still feeling part of a whole. Yeah,
and also kind of really does a good job of setting up that whole governance of the planet, and the differences between what it would be if you were to just walk on the streets versus if you were in, a palatial setting or a setting of a very wealthy person or a place of entertainment where all of those people come together. It just was really good.
And Phillips does a really good job. She very kind of subtly is kind of saying here's all these different players that are probably going to start coming up as the series moves forward in terms of who's going to be in charge of the planet now that because the whole reason that she's here is Hulk's other son, Hero Kala, not the one anyone super cares about. He's dead. Someone has to rule the planet. You look me in the eye and tell me
no, apparently Bruce was the only one who cared about it.
Yeah, but
even Jen's kind of dismissive in describing him.
I mean, I'll put it this way: the fact that they didn't even bring his other son along on this says a lot about who anyone in this family really cares about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it someone's got to kind of watch over the planet for the time being, and Jen unfortunately gets stuck with that. So she's kind of stuck here. She's dealing with these people vying for power, and to a certain extent, she doesn't super care because she's just I just want to get out of here, man.
Right,
I've been here a whole week longer than I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, Bruce can come back and clean up this mess.
Yeah, but at the same time, she's a hero. She's someone who, even outside of that, has dedicated herself to making sure the world is right by people through the law. She can't just necessarily dump these people when there's a problem.
Yeah, well, and also it's going to be interesting to see because the way that everybody else has approached this is through violence and strength.
Yeah.
And of physical strength. And that's just not how she wants to do it.
She can, but she doesn't want to.
Well, she can, and she's going to have to rely on her physical strength, but it's more to kind of stick with her code and be able to survive and not just get, just washed away in the blood and violence and mayhem that is this world. Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. All right, well, we've spent time talking about 4 picks that we really liked, and we said that it was kind of a small week, but we really had to whittle it down just to get to these because there was a lot of good stuff this week. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff this week. The new issue of Godzilla came out, was super good. We're getting kind of near the end of this first arc, which you might have seen spoilers for how it's going to end, and without getting to spoilers for that, if you haven't seen, I'm super excited to see what's going to happen there because it's a very big twist, but they've kind of won me over. I'm definitely willing to see where they go with it. That was good. Other stuff that we were talking about, Void Rivals. Void Rivals was really good. Was really good this week. Their next issue starts the Quintesson War. Yeah, I can't imagine that's going to go well for anyone, so yay. Well, especially with how close they were to avoiding it. Yeah. Turns out. Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. And again, all these different factions that are kind of working against each other. And I think we're about to see a bunch of strange bedfellows. Yeah. I think that the Quintessons are going to get the upper hand very quickly here, and things are going to look really bad for everybody else because the Quintessons don't care. Nope. They've got them against everybody. Yep. and they like it that way. Absolute Superman was really good. So, speaking of them against everybody, it is a Smallville versus Raj Al Ghul and Talia Al Ghul, and it is, not a good situation to be in. But we get a lot of insight through the eyes of Lois Lane into Superman and kind of how he thinks people see him very differently from the way that people see him. It was really tense, scary, frustrating, and uplifting all at the same time. And I think that that's a good Superman story. But also got a number of good graphic novels, so we continue to get restocks and a wider variety of the DC Compact series, which have been really popular. It's just a slightly smaller format at a very affordable price. We've got a display coming. I hope it's showing up here next.
I think next week is when I think
I didn't see it on the shipment. But anyway, maybe it was the following.
I'm pretty sure it's at the 12th, or was that when it's supposed to ship or when it's supposed to arrive?
Yeah, I'm not sure. But we got another volume of G.I. Joe and Void Rivals up here. The recent Jamal Campbell Zatanna graphic novel, that's also been very good. And
which, fingers crossed, he might be doing the new series coming next year.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I really liked it. That and Bring Down the House, I thought those were both really, really good. They need to lean into Zatanna more. Like, it's one of those characters that definitely has a lot of potential for DC, and she keeps kind of popping in and popping out, and I just think they've got a lot of places to go. Also, where's Constantine lately? Like, again, kind of shows up in the background of a number of books, but come on, DC, lean into your magic side a little bit more. But anyway, all right, well, we've babbled on long enough. We do this every week. We go through the new releases on Wednesdays because that's when they hit the shelves. If you're curious about comic books or you've been reading comic books for a long time, it's a great opportunity to be able to kind of see what's out there. And the best way to see what's out there is to stop into your local comic shop. We do have a comic club that meets on Tuesday nights, and it's not like you have to be a member of the club. It's literally just you show up and talk about comics and popular culture with the crew that's here. And then you also get to see, because we lay out on the back table before comics are available, which titles are coming out. So if there's something that you want to get into your pull bag for the following day, Wednesday, when you're able to purchase those, you can do that. You can also see them on the app and on the website with the new releases. And then you can also see what's going to be coming out the following week with the Coming Soon. So you never have to miss an issue or a series. We highly recommend that you sign up for that stuff, whether it's here or your other local comic shop if you're watching from somewhere else. And because that allows the comic shops to make sure that there's enough inventory for everybody to be able to read what they want to read. But so like I said, we do this every Wednesday. We'll be back next week. Until then, be sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment, share, and join us next week for more Pulp Picks. Until then, enjoy the reading. Yeah, we already said goodbye. We don't have to say it.
Yeah, you don't deserve 2 goodbyes from us.